Hey everybody, this is the Music 4A Mock Final Exam review. Let's check out this exam, this mock exam, and talk you through it, okay? Here we go. Sharing my screen right here. Okay, so part one is short musical mechanics. Basically identify or spell the requested scale or chord, whatever it is. Yeah, the first one is E Locrian. So what I think for this one is it's one of our minor types of modes, right? So it's minor, natural minor with a lowered 2 and 5, right? And so you could start this out and think, okay, well, what's E natural minor, right? And then lower 2 and 5, scale degrees 2 and 5. So E, F natural, G, A, B flat, C, D, E. All right, you get this sound? Really cool scale, exotic sound, love it. E Locrian. Number two, octatonic scale. Why? Because this is the scale that's synthetic, it's sort of man-made, and it's whole step, half step, whole step, half step, all the way through. And so really cool scale. All you have to write is octatonic. You don't have to worry about the 3 different types. This happens to be the one that starts from D flat to D natural. If you want more information about why that is, contact me and I'll send you to several textbook resources, okay? You can read all about it. But it is extra credit if you identify which specific type of octatonic mode scale that is, okay? Really cool mode. Number 3 is A split third, and this is the way you analyze it according to Casca Payne, or actually Casca Santa. There are 2 authors that we might have talked about in the past. But you could also write it as A split third, okay? And so it's A major, minor together. Really cool sonority. Don't forget that you can also split the 5th or the root, or the 4th for that matter, or the 7th. But this is the one that you'll need to know for the most part, split third. Number 4 is a polychord. And the way that you analyze it is the following. You put the chords just on top of each other, A over G, using this line, and that's all you have to do. It's basically G major, below, A major, and together. Really neat sound, huh? So that's how you do that. You could also write it as a G9 sharp 11 13. That's equally correct, or some form of that. You might also see this as a G sharp 11 13, or like G13 sharp 11, right? Depends. Depends who's saying it and what century, what decade it's from. Okay. You might see other ways to notate that, but this is what I'm going with here today. What else can I say about that? Yeah, it's polychord. Great stuff. Part 5 is these quintal chords. Now these are stacked fifths. These are stacked fifths. So anytime you've got fifths going up vertically, that's quintal, okay? It has a special sound. Really special. And the fact that when you go from chord to chord, all the intervals remain the same. They're in parallel motion. We call it planing, when especially they're parallel fifths. So here you get parallel fifths. Track the bottom voice here. It's all parallel fifths all day in every part. So it's planing. Really unique and cool sound. Then number 7, added value. Okay, there's no time signature. This is a percussion clef. I do use that a lot. But look, equally correct is non-retrogradable rhythm. This is a term that Olivier Messiaen coined. He's a very important composer. meaning you can't play it backwards. And so it's also like palindromic rhythm. These are all correct, okay? Which one's more correct? Neither, none of them, nor, neither, nor, right? So, but if you want to remember one thing, added value is probably the easiest way to remember that, okay? It's got this added 16th note in the middle. So number 8 is a tempo modulation or metric modulation. They're both equally correct terms. And so we're going from 100, quarter note equals 100, and we're using a value, a tuplet, to change our tempo. In this case, going faster. And so here, the old 8th note triplet becomes the new 8th note duplet. And so the stream of subdivisions are going to remain the same when you go from one tempo to the next. But in the end, you'll feel it to be a faster pulse. So that's what's happening. It's kind of like a pivot chord in a common chord modulation, where the 2 becomes the 6, and you go from, C minor to E flat major. Here you got a pivot value. And so that's what's happening. But how do you figure out this extra credit portion where you've got to put in a number? Quarter note equals 150. How do you figure that out? Well, this is what you do. You take the original value and use your tuplet pivot chord value, and you figure out how many of those tuplets are per beat in the old tempo. And so if you take 100 times 3, which this is, there's 3 8th note triplets in that beat in the quarter note. So you go 100 times 3 equals 300, and this is going to be 300 beats per minute. So that's 300 beats per minute, roughly, give or take a few milliseconds. But then now we're in the duplet world. You say, okay, well, how do I turn that into duplets? Well, you say 300 divided by 2 equals 150, and that gives you the quarter note value for this. So my quarter notes now are at 150 beats per minute. So that's how you figure that out. So overall, it's going to be, I'm a little fast, but that's how you do that. This is the operation down here. If you ever wanted to know, you take the old value, the original value, multiply it by your tuplet value, in this case 3, get a number 300, and then divide that by 2, and that gives you a new value, 150, which the quarter note will be. Okay? But this says both okay. That's referring to this tempo modulation and metric modulation. All right, let's go to some analysis now. And so part 2 here is this piece is Debussy, the Reflections on the Water. And below I wrote down the answers. Here it is in French. And then the date is 1905. If you're within 25 years, I think that's more than generous to give you 3 points for that. But close enough, right? So this is a great, beautiful piece, Reflections on the Water, very evocative. And it's in D-flat pandiatonic. Pandiatonic means all or equal tonal, equal scale, right? All or every scale, meaning every scale degree is roughly the same. Even the tonic, right? You can put this into like a 6/4 position and play notes in the D-flat major scale, and they're all kind of remaining equal. And it becomes like a D-flat, I like to say wash, right? A D-flat wash. That's not a technical term. That's my term for class to illustrate it, but it's pandiatonic, all tonal, okay? So all notes in the scale are about equal. So this one's great, of course. Going on. All right, so here's what we have. This circled area is all D flat pandiatonic. How do I know? Pedal tone, okay? So look for a pedal tone in the pieces right now in this semester, and they're almost always this pandiatonic business. Now, you could create a pedal through repeated pitches. There's many ways to create a pedal. Even if I re-attack this D flat, it's still pedal tone because that pitch is just, stubborn. And then you could look at these and say, hey, there's like, what would this be? An 11, right? And this would be a ninth chord, and etc. And you could go through and like, hey, it's all extended tertian and D flat, right? But they don't really change. It's still all D flat roots. And so the reason, that's the reason we call it pandiatonic, right? So, and the piano sustain pedal's down the whole time. And so that adds to this D flat wash of sound. But then the contrast is created by this section here of unresolved extended tertian chords in chromatic ascent. And so here you get this beautiful, shockingly different section of, and you can see the analysis, A flat 13, A7 flat 5. That's an augmented 6 chord, by the way, a French augmented 6 chord. But it's out of context. B flat 7 out of context. C flat 13 way out of context. All these are just, unresolved extended tertian chords, 13ths, 9ths, or 7ths, and etc. In a chromatic, above a chromatic ascending bass line. Debussy, this is a more improvisatory piece. But yeah, it creates contrast here. And pretty awesome, okay? So that's how you analyze that. Let's take a look at what I wrote below to explain what's happening there. So this composer creates contrast between D flat pandiatonic in measures 1 through 8 and the chromatically ascending. You can read this. Let me know if you have questions about this, but basically it's pandiatonic here because of, as I explained, it's a D flat wash. And I reference this later, so we'll come back to this piece. I ask about how contrast is created. And so there's like these two sound worlds, the D flat pandiatonic and the chromatically ascending unresolved extended tertian chords in measures 9 through 11. And there's a stark harmonic contrast created by these two different sound worlds, if you will, pandiatonic and the chromatic extended tertian. Okay, let's take a look at 2B. So you want to first, there's a mistake. Let me fix this mistake. There should be let me just double check something. I'll fix this on the PDF. There should be a treble clef here. Sorry about that. But yeah, it's treble clef. No worries, I'll fix that. And it's E, F, G. You know this matrix. It's the Schoenberg Opus 25. And so you know how to do it. The first step is you pop in your row form given at the top. Then you add the starting number to itself, and you get 8. And then, of course, find the mod 12 version of that. So What is 8 p.m.? It's 2000 hours. So you add 12 to 8, and you get 20 as another possible number. And so then you go across and you find which number you need to add to get 8. So 5, I need to add 3. And this is the inversion column. 7 plus 1 is 8. 1 plus 7 is 8. 6 plus 2. And you go down, and these should all add up to 8 or 20. Then make sure you've got your 4s going down the diagonal. And then you start from, your row started from 4, and then you go to 5. And then you add 1 to every number in the 4 row and put it in the 5 row. And then you go to 6, and you do the same thing from the 5 row. We've gone over this plenty of times. Hopefully that's clear to you. And then you'll see that this, this musical example, you'll need to analyze using the matrix and putting in measure per measure the row forms that are being used. And you'll see the following, that he starts with P4, the original, and these numbers here, they're not pitches. These are row order numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, going across all the way to 12, ending on B flat. Okay? Again, these are not pitches. These are not fixed pitch integers. These are row order numbers, meaning E is the first note in the row. So that would be 4 as the starting pitch, right? Which is E, and that's number 1 in the row order number series, right? Let me know if that's not clear. I can help you. But there's this really cool thing happening, what's called row elision, as we talked about in class. So the ending of one row is the beginning of another. And so he goes P4, P4 ends on B flat. I10 starts on B flat, and he goes through that row. And E is the end of 10, I10. It's the start of I4, and he goes through that row, the inversion 4, and then etc. Finally ending on B flat here, which is an elision with P10, and he goes through that ending on E. Okay, so that's how it's going through the row, the matrix. It's row elision. And if I take a look back up here to my row, give it a second here. It's cool because he's going across the perimeter of the matrix. 10 is going down here. I think he goes here then, I4, and he goes down here, and then P10 going across there, ending on 4. So it's pretty cool, this like crisscross pattern of the matrix perimeter. Okay? And then, yeah, tell me what's going on with that, and basically put that into words so you can read it. He's using P4, he's using I10, I4, P10 in elision. And that's what's cool about this. He glides compositionally along the perimeter of the matrix. These repeated elision pitches found at the pickup and downbeat of each measure, here's the cool thing, create an aurally identifiable anchor and a fascinating way to approach serial composition. And so if I play this music, at least for me, when I get to these repeated notes at the pickup and the downbeat of each measure, it kind of helps my ear. It gives me an anchor to hold on to. Right here. Right here. And Zoom is in the way, I'm sorry. Okay, so that's just a slow playthrough, but you can hear the bump, bump, the repeated notes in green here. And yeah, creating that anchor. It's cool, really cool. It's a smart way to do it. And other things you could say about this, the use of diverse intervals, tritones, perfect fifths, thirds, sixths, and they're always in the same spot in the measure. Here, you've got another tritone on the 3/8 note, and then another perfect fifth, yeah, on the same metric placement, another minor third in the same metric placement in each bar, another sixth, the major sixth on right here in each bar. And that's kind of cool. Here it's a little, yeah, it's a little different over on this side because it's inversion, but it's pretty consistent with how he's using intervals in this composition. Really cool. And yeah, of course, that's the suite for piano opus 25. 1923, so it was written between the years 21 and 23. So I often give the later year as the composition year, even though it's a couple years overall. All right, so 2C, this is the one we looked at in class. This is the Steve Reich piano phase from 1967. And yeah, I'll just kind of, you can read it, but I'll talk you through it. So you know how this works. It's B minorish. Sorry. And then, okay, so two pianos, they come in unison. The lower one is on the bottom, it fades in. And I see unison at the same pitches. You can kind of hear it. The bottom one, the bottom piano accelerates very slightly to the point where it then gets to the second note, F sharp, in the original pattern. And the top piano stays where it is. And now they're out of, they've been phase shifted by 1/16th note. So the bottom piano is one note ahead of the top piano. And so what that does is creates different intervals. We started on unisons here, unisons, and now we've got different intervals. You can look at the PDF, the PowerPoint presentation that I did, that's up on the minimalism notes, the class notes, and you can see those intervals. I can play them too. It's like this. Okay, and so each time it goes through its phase shifting, it's going to have different intervals and different rhythmic groupings as well. And it's such a neat thing, right? Yeah. So it's really cool. One of my favorite aspects of this type of composition is this part right here when it's out of phase and it's accelerating against. It's just so interesting to hear. This like shimmering uncertainty. And when it lands, you're challenged to hear, did it land? Is it in fact in sync, in phase? Has it phase shifted or not? So I think that's a beautiful and interesting thing to hear. I basically verbally described what I wrote here, but I could say, yeah, one could say that the process is one of investigation and discovery of these patterns across the piece and its process. Now, take a look at the PDF, the class notes. I reference Paul Epstein and his scholarship. He was my teacher for this class back in the day, and so he's a well-known scholar for this style of music, minimalism. But anyway, read those notes about that. Very interesting. The out-of-phase sections where the lower part accelerates create a musically fascinating uncertainty. The overall effect is a hypnotic kaleidoscope of sounds. All right, so that's how I would answer the question about this piece. Like all this stuff, how is it minimalist? Well, there's just not much material. It's just used in a certain way, a process. The process unfolding being phase shifting in every measure, accelerating, out of phase, phase shifting, new rhythmic patterns, new intervals, and so on, and byproducts of all that. And so yeah, that's how I'd answer that question about this piano phase by Steve Reich. Let's see what else there is. Okay, this is the last one. Find, circle, and label at least two modernist elements below using class terminology, any relevant analytical tools, chord symbols, etc., whatever it takes, use it. Use a tool, you've got them. And then so look at the rhythm and meter and pitch content in particular. This one's got a lot. This is cool. This is Ginastera. It's Ginastera, not Hinastera. And so this is the Ginastera in Piano Sonata number 1, first movement. And here we go. Really like a brutal marcato, striking opening to this sonata. It's great. Check it out when you've got a chance. But there's all sorts of things. There's this whole tone scale in here. Okay, and a split third here, E flat and E natural at the beginning. It's sort of like C major. You see it in red here. C minor, you know. I see it that way. Maybe that's a stretch, but you want to put at least two, right? So syncopation, fair. He doesn't use accents. These aren't syncopated accents or displaced accents necessarily, but it counts. If you write syncopation, sure, that's one of the modernist things. Even if accents aren't used to create that syncopation, it still counts. Then mixed meter in purple, you see absolutely, you're going from 3/4 to 2/4 to 4/4 back. The whole sonata does that. What else can I say about it? Yeah, it's all about thirds, major thirds, minor thirds, syncopated motivic thirds. Extra credit would be this thing down here. It's a symmetrical pitch collection. It's kind of neat. If you look outside going in, it's absolutely symmetrical. I'll play it. Where you get on the outside minor thirds, going in minor seconds, separated by a whole step. And there's like this missing D as an axis of symmetry, but that's another topic. That would be a set theory topic. We didn't talk about set theory in our class. One thing I need to do is put the composer down and the year. I'll update that. It's Gina Stella in its Piano Sonata No. 1. The year, early 20th century. I don't remember right now. And again, that's all extra credit. So let's see. Compare any two of the analysis excerpts that you've done in part 2 below. Aim for 4 to 5 sentences of content using class terminology. Use measure numbers, be specific, use analytical tools, chord symbols, scale types, harmonic constructs that can cogently explain your points. That means convincingly. And so you could read about what I did. I decided to compare the Debussy with the Reich. I never did that before. It was interesting, little challenge for me, and that was fun. So you can read about it. They're both similar. It's interesting. They have a hypnotic effect, both of these pieces, the Debussy and the Reich, because they have like pan-diatonic elements, but they do it in completely different ways. The Debussy is more like organic and improvisatory and slow and soft and like evocative of this water rippling effect in this pond, and you know, you can almost see the water lilies by Monet, that kind of thing, reflections on the water. It's more chill. But the Steve Reich is like much more percussive, much more dry. It's more driven. It's more like mechanical. It's like machinery, if you will. And so you can read about it. It's kind of like machine-like and relentless compared to the quiet, dreamy atmosphere of the Debussy, right? And so I think that's an interesting exercise to do. So they're both pan-diatonic. Interesting. But it's completely different results of that pan-diatonic topic, you know. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's see what else I can say about that. Yeah, and I note that I refer to my notes above. See measure 9 to 11 above, all right? And then I even say later, see analytical details that I wrote earlier, right? So I make sure that I'm very clear about things, and I point the reader to where I want them to go, as mentioned above, you know. I use class terminology, out of phase, accelerations. Other class terminology would be, of course, pan-diatonic, mixed interval chords, right? unresolved extended tertian chords, um, and I explain how the pandiatonic is created by pedal tone. Um, so yeah, this is the kind of thing I'm looking for. This would be pretty thorough, and that's good. You want to be thorough and be as articulate as you can, refer to the examples and measure numbers, and throw in, with good intentions and a convincing way, the class terminology here. Let me know if you have questions, and I will see you at the final. Thank you very much.